Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Brian. Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to set up a Plex server using CentOS. Now CentOS is a Linux distribution that is geared towards enterprise grade users. However, it's going to be perfect for what we need because there's no extra fluff. So let's get right into it. Now for those of you who are wondering what Plex is, the basic gist of Plex is that it is a media server application that will be used to take your media, transcode it, and broadcast it onto a phone, a TV, an Xbox, a PS4, whatever. It doesn't matter. It'll play pretty much anywhere, and it'll play pretty much any media file that you may have in your library. Now we assume that you guys will know how to do the following items before we begin in order to get this Plex server up and running. The first is knowing how to burn an ISO disk image to a DVD, booting a PC off of that DVD, as well as modifying your router and port forward settings in order to facilitate Plex. Now for this tutorial, you'll need a couple of things, the first being a desktop PC. I say a desktop PC primarily because then you can add more hard drives and get more storage space down the road if your media library increases. In addition to the PC, I recommend you replace the hard drive. Now my recommendation is a 4TB Western Digital Red. It's about $150 and it's designed for consuming data off of the drive rather than writing to it like you would with a Western Digital Black. In addition to the hard drive and PC, you will also need a sufficient upload internet speed in order to handle viewing remotely outside of your local network. If you don't plan on doing this or you have a data cap, then this is not really required. I suggest having at least a 7.5 megabit per second upload speed. Now to find that, you can go to speedtest.net and perform a test. It'll test your speed, both download and upload, and see if you are beyond that recommendation. If you are, fantastic, you can do remote viewing. If not, you may need to tweak some settings, but you should be able to view your media remotely regardless. Again, if you have that data cap, I strongly recommend against using Plex in a remote fashion, only because you're going to burn through your data pretty quickly and we don't want that. Now in addition to a sufficient upload speed on your internet, I strongly recommend having a physical connection between your network and your server. The reason being is because it's a lot more stable, a lot more reliable, and usually faster than wireless. Additionally, setting up wireless in CentOS can be a little bit difficult depending on the wireless adapter you have. To get started with this tutorial, the first thing we need to do is download and burn a DVD using the CentOS 7.2 ISO. To download, you have to go to the CentOS.org website, click on Downloads, Get CentOS DVD ISO, and choose from a list of mirrors. You can choose any one you want. Each one will have a different speed depending on their physical location and things like that. So choose a couple, see which one works best for you if you see the first one is too slow. Once that is done, burn that ISO image onto a disk using your burning software of choice. Now that you have your CentOS DVD burned, the next step is to boot the PC off of that disk. In order to do so, you may need to find the instructions for your particular model online. Once booted, you'll be greeted by a screen asking you to install CentOS or test and install the media. I strongly recommend you test and install just to make sure that your DVD has been burned and downloaded properly. In my particular instance, I only choose to install because I know the DVD has been burned properly. Now it's going to go through a bunch of startup processes, but don't worry, it's all going to be fine. When we finally finish that, it'll bring us up to the installation GUI. We're going to choose our language, in this case English United States. Now it's going to check all the things needed in order to install, so it's going to have some yellow exclamation points here and there to make sure that everything is done properly. First thing we want to do is set the security policy to default and choose Done. Make sure the disk that we want is selected. In this particular video, I accidentally left it unselected, but it still works out, so make sure it's checked off. Next, we're going to be setting our Ethernet adapter and turning it on, as well as setting our IPv4 settings to manual. We will add an address of, in my particular case, 10.192.1.160. Your network may vary for this. A net mask of 255.255.255.0, and a gateway of 10.192.1.1, which is the address of my router. The DNS server is going to use the same network address as the gateway in most home instances. Once completed, you can go ahead and click on Done. After that, we are all set to begin the installation. Now we have to set the root password. The root password is the password used for the administrator of the system. So set a strong password and click on Done. Next, create a user You can set whatever username you'd like. In my case, I just chose to use my name and set myself as an administrator. Set the password and click on Done. Once completed, now you just have to sit back and wait for the installation to proceed. It may take a few minutes, but it's well worth it. Once the installation is completed, it will ask you to reboot the server. It'll go through the progress bar loading the system, and once that is complete, it'll blink a couple of times with a cursor and then go into our login screen. Now this is just a standard login in Linux, which it does not have any graphics or anything like that like it does in Windows. Now that we have a login screen, we know that the server is ready to be connected to from the secondary PC that we have for configuration. Go ahead and download the PuTTY utility, which is available in the link in the description. Now keep in mind this is for Windows only. Go ahead and enter in the IP address that you set during the installation process, and go ahead and connect. When you're first connecting to the server, it'll ask you to verify to make sure that you're connecting to the system you think it is. Go ahead and click on Yes to continue. Enter the username and password you created for your user in the login screen. Once logged in, enter the command su and enter the root password. Run commands with the following command of yum space update space -y. The -y will allow the updates to automatically install without asking you for permission or asking you if you're sure you want to continue. Once complete, enter in the command yum install nano -y. This will install Nano, a command line based text editor that works very nicely and we'll be using for our tutorial. Once installed, install the Samba software by using yum install Samba Samba-client Samba-common -y. Once installed, change the directory to the root by using cd // At the root of the drive, go ahead and create the Samba directory by using the command mkdir space -p space /samba. Go ahead and set the permissions for the folder by using chmod space -r space 0777 space /samba. Additionally, set the ownership of the folder by using chown -r nobody /samba. Set the permissions for SE Linux, which is the Linux firewall, by using the command chcon -t samba_share_t /samba. Go ahead and create a backup of the Samba configuration file by using the command cp /etc/samba/smb.conf space /etc/samba/smb.conf.bak. This will create a backup file that you can use in the event that something goes wrong with your initial configuration. Now we get to edit the Samba configuration file. Type in nano /etc/samba/smb.conf and hit enter. This will bring us to a text command prompt that we can use to modify the settings in this file. Go ahead and scroll down to the global section, and under the network related options section, go ahead and change the work group to work group. Additionally, you can set the net BIOS name to something like my Plex server or something similar. Set the max protocol to SMB3 and remove any semicolons before those existing lines. While in this section under the max protocol line, you want to add the following entries: security equals user, map to guest equals bad user, and DNS proxy equals no. Go ahead and navigate to the end of the file by hitting end or page down until you get to the end of the file, and add the following information in order to make a share definition so you can access the Plex folder from any PC. We're going to use square bracket Plex and close square bracket. The next line being path equaling /samba. The next line browsable equals yes. The next line writable equaling yes. The next line guest OK equaling yes. And the final line of read only equaling no. Hold Control and hit X and choose yes to save your file and overwrite the existing one. At the command line, enter systemctl space enable space smb.service. Do the same for the nmb service by using systemctl space enable space nmb service. And go ahead and restart the services just for good measure. Systemctl restart smb service and systemctl restart nmb service. Once the services have been restarted, we can add firewall permissions and reload the firewall. To do so, enter firewall-cmd space -- permanent space -- zone equal public space -- add - service equals Samba. It will then say successful for adding that particular zone into the firewall. Go ahead and reload by typing in firewall-cmd space -- reload. Now that the firewall has been reloaded, we can test the connectivity on another PC. In this particular instance, we're using Windows, so we can go ahead and hold the Windows key and press R, and it'll bring up the run prompt. Type / and the IP address that you set for the server. If successful, a Windows File Explorer window will show up, allowing you to add and remove files from that location. Once the test is successful to connect, go ahead and right-click, choose New, and create a new text file. This will verify you have write access to the drive, and that way then you can copy over media as well as copy over the Plex installer file that we will be downloading. Go ahead and go to the Plex.tv website and download Plex using the instructions on screen. Download the 64-bit CentOS version and copy it over to the new folder that you connected to on your Windows PC. In PuTTY, type in cd/samba and run the installer for Plex. To do so, run yum space local install space p, and if you hit the tab key, it'll autofill the rest of the name, and -y. Go ahead and hit enter, and it'll go through the installation process for you. Once the installation process is completed, go ahead and type in systemctl space start space plexmediaserver.service. Go ahead and temporarily disable the firewall for testing and type in systemctl space stop space firewall-d.service. On your Windows PC, go ahead and open up a web browser and navigate to the IP address that you set for Plex and test its web connectivity by typing in http:// the IP address :32400/web. If you can connect, go ahead and close the web browser. In PuTTY, reboot the server by typing in reboot and hit enter. Log back in with your credentials and allow temporary root access by entering SU and entering the root password again. Stop the Plex service by typing systemctl space stop space plexmediaserver.service. Now we're going to edit the firewall to allow Plex through. Go ahead and type in nano space /etc/firewall-d/services/plexmediaserver.xml. This will create a new file. Go ahead and copy the following information into the XML file that you just created by copying from Windows and right-clicking into PuTTY. Now, right-clicking in PuTTY will automatically paste whatever you have on your clipboard. So go ahead and right-click to paste, hit Ctrl-X to save, and Y if asked to overwrite. Now we're going to add the Plex service to the firewall to allow it through properly. Go ahead and type in firewall-cmd space -- permanent -- add - service equals Plex media server. The second command is also firewall-cmd space -- permanent space -- zone equals public space -- add - service equals Plex media server. Once done, go ahead and reboot the system by typing in reboot. Once the server comes back up, you can go ahead back into your web browser and typing in the IP address of the server :32400/web and access the server. Once in the server, you can go ahead and claim the server and sign into an account. If you do not have an account, you can go ahead and make one. Once the server has been claimed, go ahead and test the remote access by clicking on the Remote Access tab on the left. This will attempt to connect the Plex server that you just created to the Plex services out on the internet. Most likely it will not be able to because you do not have the port forwarding set up. Now what I'm going to be doing is setting up a manual port forward to a public port of 42,500. In your firewall, you're going to have to set this as the external port and 32,400 as the internal port. Just make sure that the port that you forward is going to the correct IP address. Once your port forward is set up, retry the connection to the remote access and it should be successful. Now that we have remote access configured, now we can go ahead and start setting up our actual media libraries on the Plex server. What we're going to do is we're going to connect to that share that we created earlier and create 3 folders: movies, music, and TV shows. Now this is fairly obvious, as each folder will hold certain types of media and only that type of media. It makes things easier for the Plex agent in order to figure out what files are. Now, before we proceed, you may want to take a look at the tutorial on Plex's website and wiki in order to how you should name your files for movies, music, TV shows in order for them to be found properly using Plex. As a test, we're going to be moving the movie The Green Zone, starring Matt Damon, over from our existing PC over to the Plex server. Once the copying completes, we now have to create a library for our media. Click on Add Library in the left and choose Movies. Add your folder and browse. You're going to choose the /, which is the root of the drive, and Samba, which is the folder that we created before. There will be subfolders. In this case, we're going to choose Movies. Go ahead and click on OK, and it will scan the folder to see if there are any files there. In our case, we only have one, The Green Zone. Once it finds it, it's going to download the album artwork, the movie poster, any information about the media file itself that it can find online, and present it to you in such a way that makes it much more appealing than just looking through file names. Now that the metadata has been downloaded for the file, you can go ahead and watch it and look through the information that is provided. You can also set your audio and subtitle tracks if you so wish. Go ahead and repeat the steps for adding a new library for your music and TV show libraries, and then you're pretty much set. You can go ahead and fiddle with some settings depending on what you want for transcoding and things like that, but those aren't necessarily ones that you have to handle at this time. Go ahead and test using remote software, using like your phone or a PS4 or what have you, and test to make sure that you're able to watch the movies from on your local network as well as outside of your network if you so wish. Once the tests have been completed, you're now all set to start using Plex. Go ahead and copy the remaining media that you have, movies, music, TV shows, and watch Plex download everything. Very rarely will Plex not download something correctly. If something like this happens, go ahead and go into the file, click on the 3 dots on the left, and choose Fix Incorrect Match. If it doesn't find anything, you may need to retitle your file in order to match the source media properly. For example, if you have Back to the Future and you typed in BTTF, it may not find anything. And there we have the end of the tutorial. I thank you all for watching. If anyone has any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I value all feedback, so please give me some feedback, as this is my first tutorial creation, and it's not something that we're normally used to here on TMFTP. So we appreciate any feedback that you may have about this. If you want to see further projects, such as multi-disk Plex servers, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I'll be glad to take a look at those down the road. Again, thank you all for watching. Have a good day.